Meet Timmy. Timmy is a 24-year-old copywriter, currently hyperventilating into a paper bag. He is staring at his laptop, watching a chatbot write a marketing email in 3 seconds that would have taken him 3 hours. Timmy is terrified. He thinks the AI apocalypse is here to steal his job. He thinks the scariest thing about artificial intelligence is that it might write a bad poem. Poor, sweet, naive Timmy. Now, let's cut to a bunker in a war zone.
The general's drowning in data, satellites, drones, spies, intercepted calls.
Satellites,
but he
drones,
doesn't care about
spies,
marketing
intercepted
emails.
calls. It's all screaming at him at once. He has 10,000 enemies hiding in the dark, and he has to find them before a missile finds him. He doesn't need a poem. He needs a target. While the internet was busy making memes with ChatGPT, a shadow company in Silicon Valley was quietly perfecting the other kind of AI. The kind that doesn't generate text. It generates kill chains. They didn't build software to optimize ad clicks. They built the operating system for modern warfare. This isn't about the future of work. This is about the future of violence. And the company behind it? They make the Terminator look like a public service announcement. To understand this machine, you have to understand the maniac driving it. Enter Alex Karp. If you saw him on the street, you wouldn't think CEO of a multi-billion-dollar defense contractor. You'd think eccentric philosophy professor who just stuck a fork in an electrical socket. He has wild hair, he wears brightly colored athletic gear to board meetings, and he holds a PhD in neoclassical social theory from a university in Germany. He is the only tech CEO who openly hates Silicon Valley, describing it as a place where people inhale their own exhaust fumes while building apps to trade digital monkey pictures. But don't let the eccentric vibe fool you. Karp is a shark. He was recruited by Peter Thiel, the godfather of the PayPal mafia, the same group that gave us Elon Musk and LinkedIn. But while the rest of the PayPal crew went off to build electric cars or social networks, Thiel and Karp looked at the crumbling wreckage of the World Trade Center in 2001 and realized something terrifying. The government wasn't failing because they were stupid. They were failing because they were blind. They had all the data, FBI tips, CIA reports, NSA intercepts, but it was all locked in separate filing cabinets. The dots were there. Nobody could connect them. So, they founded Palantir, named after the seeing stones from Lord of the Rings magical orbs that allowed you to see across the world to spy on your enemies. It was a bold move. In a world where every startup was begging for ad dollars, Palantir went to the CIA and said, "We don't want to sell you ads. We want to be your brain." The pitch meetings were different. A typical Silicon Valley venture capitalist would ask, "So, what is your daily active user count? How do we monetize the eyeballs?" And Karp would basically reply, "We don't have users, we have spies. And we don't monetize eyeballs. We monetize the ability to stop a bomb from going off in a crowded subway." Most investors ran for the hills. They thought it was impossible, or illegal, or both. But the CIA, they wrote the first check. To understand why Palantir became a religion for the intelligence community, you have to understand the sheer, unadulterated chaos of the fog of war. Movies make war look organized. You see a general standing in front of a giant glowing blue map, moving chess pieces with a calm, stoic expression. Team Alpha, move here. Bravo, flank left. Target eliminated. It's clean. It's precise. It's a complete lie. Real war is a mess. It is a logistical nightmare fueled by caffeine, panic, and incompatible file formats. Imagine you are that general. You have a drone flying overhead, collecting video. You have a spy on the ground, sending encrypted texts. You have a satellite taking thermal images. And you have an NSA listening post recording phone calls. You have all the pieces of the puzzle. But here is the catch. None of these systems talk to each other. The drone feed is on a proprietary laptop that only Sergeant Dave knows how to use. The spy reports are in a Word document on a secure server that requires 3 passwords to access. The satellite images are being printed out on paper and driven to your tent in a Jeep. By the time you actually get the information, it is 4 hours old. The target isn't there anymore. The target has moved, had lunch, and set up an ambush 3 miles down the road. This is the staccato of failure. Report comes in. Enemy spotted Sector 4. Check the map. Map is outdated. Call the drone team. Line is busy. Sir, is that a tank or a school bus? I don't know. The video is buffering. Do we fire? Wait for confirmation. Confirmation comes. It was a tank. Fire now. Too late. The tank is gone. Your squad is pinned down. Panic. Confusion. Silence. This was the reality of the US military for decades. We spent trillions of dollars building the most expensive hardware on Earth. We built stealth bombers that look like spaceships. We built aircraft carriers that are basically floating cities. But the software running it all? It was an absolute joke. You had multi-million-dollar missile systems being managed by guys manually typing coordinates into Microsoft Excel. You had intelligence analysts literally printing out emails and using Scotch tape to stick them on a whiteboard to draw connections. It was like trying to fly a spaceship using a frantic abacus. Let's listen in on a typical conversation from the pre-Palantir era. General, I need to know if this suspect has ever called the bomb maker in Yemen. Analyst, I'm on it, sir. I just need to request access to the FBI database. General, how long will that take? Analyst, about 6 weeks. I have to fax a form to Washington. General, fax? We are hunting terrorists, not buying a house in 1995. Analyst, sorry, sir. Protocol. Also, the printer is out of toner. It sounds funny, until you realize people die because of the toner cartridge. This disconnect, this data silo problem, was the single biggest vulnerability of the West. We were drowning in data, but starving for wisdom. We had the eyes of a god, but the brain of a goldfish. The mania set in when the government realized that their shiny toys were useless against an enemy that didn't follow the rules. Al-Qaeda didn't have tanks. They didn't have uniforms. They lived in the noise. They hid in the data gaps. To find them, you didn't need a bigger bomb. You needed a better search engine. You needed something that could ingest the chaos, the phone logs, the bank transfers, the flight manifests, the grainy videos, and spit out a single, glowing red thread connecting them all. The military didn't need more firepower. They needed a brain transplant. And that is exactly what Alex Karp was selling. So, how does Palantir actually fix the chaos? How do they turn the fog of war into a clear, 4K resolution livestream? They do it by building something called the ontology. Now, I know that sounds like a pretentious philosophy term, probably because their CEO is a pretentious philosopher. But in practice, it is terrifyingly simple. Think of the real world. In the real world, you don't have rows and columns. You have things. You have a terrorist, let's call him Bob, who drives a specific Toyota Hilux, uses a specific Nokia burner phone, and visits a specific warehouse. Traditional databases are stupid. One database has a list of phone numbers. Another has a list of license plates. Another has a list of names. To a computer, these are just separate lists of text. The computer doesn't know that the phone number belongs to Bob. Enter Palantir. Palantir's software, specifically their government platform Gotham, acts like a universal translator. It sucks in every single piece of data you have. The spreadsheets, the police reports, the intercepted audio, the bank logs, and it converts them into objects. It tells the machine, hey, this phone number isn't just a number. It is an attribute of Bob. This license plate, that belongs to the Toyota. And look, the Toyota was seen parked next to Bob's warehouse. Suddenly, the screen doesn't show you a spreadsheet. It shows you a web, a spider web of connections. This is the digital twin of reality. Imagine playing a video game like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. You have a mini-map in the corner of your screen. You see red dots for enemies, green dots for friends, and icons for objectives. You don't have to read a report to know where the bad guy is. The game just shows you. Palantir effectively builds that HUD, heads-up display. For real life, it allows a non-technical general to ask a question in plain English. Instead of saying, select times from terrorist, table where location equals Baghdad, the general can just ask, show me everyone who has visited this bomb factory in the last 48 hours and also has a bank account in Switzerland. Boom, the software crawls the web. It finds the connections. It lights up the map. It strips away the noise. It hides the millions of innocent people who didn't visit the factory. And it puts a giant spotlight on the 3 guys who did. It turns big data, which is useless trash, into smart data, which is lethal. It's not about having more information. It's about having the right information, presented in a way that a human brain can understand instantly. It creates a single source of truth. And in a war, truth is the most dangerous weapon you can possess. You might be thinking, okay, that sounds cool in a PowerPoint presentation, but does it actually work in the real world? For years, critics called Palantir a consultancy disguised as a software company. They said it was vaporware. They said it was just a bunch of engineers manually fixing data in the back room. Then came February 2022, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This was the ultimate A/B test. On one side, you had the Russian war machine, a Goliath, thousands of tanks, endless artillery, and a doctrine based on brute force and mass destruction. They had the hardware advantage. On the other side, you had Ukraine, outgunned, outnumbered, and fighting for survival. But they had something Russia didn't have. They had Karp on speed dial. Palantir deployed their software into the hands of Ukrainian commanders. And suddenly, the war changed. It became the first true software war. While Russian generals were using paper maps and unencrypted radios, Ukrainian artillery teams were using iPads. Here is how it worked. A commercial satellite would spot a Russian tank hidden under a tree. Palantir's AI would instantly identify it as a T-90 tank, not a bus, not a rock. It would calculate the exact coordinates. It would then check which Ukrainian artillery unit was closest and had ammo. It would send a mission to that unit's tablet. The soldiers didn't have to calculate wind speed or trajectory. The software did it. They just had to accept the mission and pull the lanyard. It was essentially Uber for artillery. Customer: I would like one 155mm shell delivered to this location, please. Driver: artillery. Accepted. Arriving in 45 seconds. Rating: 5 stars. Target destroyed. Let's look at the dialogue of modern warfare. Russian commander: I have a column of armored vehicles worth $50 million. I am invincible. Ukrainian operator: cool story, bro. I have a $400 tablet and a Wi-Fi connection. Click. Russian commander: static noise, signal lost. The crash here wasn't a stock market crash. It was the crash of the entire concept of traditional military power. The world watched in shock as the second best army in the world got dismantled by a smaller force armed with better code. It proved that in the 21st century, a tank without software is just a very expensive iron coffin. If you cannot see the battlefield, you are already dead. Palantir didn't just sell a product. They proved that their digital kill chain was the only thing that mattered. So, here is the cold, hard truth. The age of industrial warfare is dead. We have entered the age of algorithmic warfare. The country with the most tanks doesn't win anymore. The country with the best source code wins. It is a terrifying reality. But it is the world we live in. If you want to understand the machinery that is quietly running the world while you sleep, from the algorithms deciding your credit score to the AI deciding who lives or dies on a battlefield, then you need to stay right here. We don't sugarcoat the pill. We swallow it whole. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because if you aren't watching the data is definitely watching you. Don't be a Timmy. Be informed. In the end, Palantir is the ultimate paradox of our time. It was built by libertarians who claim to love freedom. Yet, they created the most powerful tool for state surveillance in human history. They claim to save the West, but they do it by turning Western democracy into a digital panopticon. Karp often says that our software is used to target terrorists, not ordinary citizens. And sure, we believe him. For now. But tools have a funny way of outliving their creators' intentions. A hammer doesn't care if it hits a nail or a skull. And an AI doesn't care if it tracks a terrorist or a protester. It just follows the logic. We spent decades afraid of Skynet, a robot that would gain consciousness and hate us. But we were wrong. The danger isn't that AI will hate us. The danger is that AI will just be really, really efficient at following orders. And right now, Palantir is taking orders from the highest bidder. So, sleep tight. The eye of Sauron is open. The servers are humming. And somewhere in a bunker, a general is staring at a screen, waiting for the light to turn green. Cheers.